Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. We're back tonight. Got a lot to talk about. And before we get started, I'm going to let my two panel members here introduce themselves. We'll start with Mr. Miter Mike.
Good evening. This is Michael Murray with Miter Mike's Woodshop. It can be found on all social media under Miter Mike's Woodshop.
All right. Thanks for being here tonight, Mike.
Anytime.
And also, I've got Mr. Javi, or Mr. We should call him Mr. Post Hole Digger Javi.
Post hole Javi here with CNC Mike. It's wonderful to be here again, Dave. You can find me on Javi's Woodshop on YouTube, or of course on Facebook, Javier Unzueta. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for being here. And while you've got your mic on hot there, Javi, go ahead and do a roll call then. And we've already got 50-some folks watching. Let's give some folks.
Sure, be happy to. Had it up right here. So we've got AK Tom from Arizona, I would imagine, or Alaska Tom, Arizona. I don't know. Abbreviations. Benji Long, Brent Poland, Peter Posuelo. You should come in here, Peter. Darren Bird, he's got a lot of ideas. Darren Birds, Ed Newman, Frankie from Frankie CNC, Keith Allen, Lyle Foyt, Matt Smith, Raymond Dixon, Rob Schuster, Ryan Ballard, Tim Deline, and Sean Draper. Those that I can see. Jim Johnson. Of course, Zach is out there. Zach Manring from Southern Ginger.
Southern Ginger himself.
Let's see. Did I say Matt Smith? Ryan Ballard's out there. Jeff Connor, Becca Miller, Jay from Jay Wood's Shop, Landis Stutz. Let's see. Dwight Bennett, Don Milstead. I'm trying to see if Thomas Gray, if I missed your name, Del Ludlam. If I missed your name, I apologize. And Patrick just came in under the wire.
Yeah, great. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We've already got, according to the YouTubes over here, 62 folks watching already. I really appreciate you tuning in. I wasn't sure if my title was going to scare you off or not, and it wouldn't have surprised me if it had. But we're going to talk a little bit about inspiration tonight. But before we do, and this kind of ties into tonight's topic. I still didn't get around to doing a video. I still got to try to do that within the next few days. But I did post an announcement using my little community tab on the YouTubes that I've only used, I think, like twice now. So I posted a thing on there, and I've also posted an announcement in the Facebook groups, the Gatton CNC, GarageWorks CNC, Southern Woodworkers, and, of course, on my own page for the 2018 Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge that is now right around the corner. I didn't even realize it until, I don't know, I had to write the date the other day or something, and I'm like, wow, it's next Thursday's Thanksgiving. So I've got the list of the rules. You know, I've kind of talked about the challenge a little bit, so but I haven't really gone over the rules, so I'll kind of go over them real quick. It begins November 23rd. Black Friday ends on December 24th at 11:59 p.m. Right before the stroke of midnight. Remember, that doesn't mean you can't go ahead and begin working on your projects now. So you produce a short video, 10 minutes or less, of your Christmas themed project. Has to be a Christmas theme, made with your CNC, or at least most of it made with your CNC. You know, you don't have to, you know, if you got just a straight piece, you can cut with a table saw or whatever. But, and also, when I say CNC challenge, that does apply to CNC lasers, and we'll even throw 3D printers in there if you got something you want to do there. So you make your project 10 minutes or less, you upload it to your YouTube channel. And then the title, this is important. You know, I was a little lenient last year, and I'm not going to be a real hard butt or anything, but please put the title of your video, 2018 Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge. Okay, so everybody will know that that's what it's for. Okay, once your video is uploaded to YouTube, send me an email to davegatton@atnt.net with the words 2018 Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge in the subject line. You know, that little subject line up at the top. Put that in there so I don't get them mixed up or accidentally delete them because I get a ton of emails every single day. A lot of them junk stuff. In the body of the email, include the link to your video, the URL link, and also include your name, address, phone number, some kind of contact information, so I can get a hold of you later. This challenge is open to everyone, not just people in the U.S., and you can enter as many projects as you want as long as they are each in a separate video. Please don't do one video and put like 6 projects and then send it to me and go, oh, well, here's my challenge projects. You know, they need to be in a separate video, so they'll all be judged separately. And then, of course, decisions of the judges will be final, and winners will be announced during the YouTube live stream on Saturday, December 29th, which is the last Saturday of the year at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So there we have it. Any questions? It's kind of like, I mean, it's basically the same rules as last year. I just changed the date on them. So all this pretty much the same. And you can go to, if you click the little show more thing under the video screen there and on the YouTubes, you can go down. There's links to both playlists from 2016 and 2017. So if you're looking for an idea and want to see what other people made, especially the people that won, you can go check out those playlists. And there's also a link that will take you straight to the page where I just read these rules and how you can, you know, if you didn't catch everything I said and want to go read them again, you can hit that link and go check them out. There's also, and I forgot to put Michael Murray in there, but I got Javi's thing. Michael, I'll add your YouTube channel and stuff before I get off of here tonight.
I'll be putting it in the chat as you speak.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. And I see you've added the link to the Christmas challenge, so that's good. That's good. All right, so I don't see any questions over there about the challenge. And also I wanted to mention, because I don't know how many of you folks over there or might be new or maybe your first time tuning in or something, or maybe you just, for some reason, you don't know about the Facebook groups and the Dave Gatton Community Forum, which is on my GarageWorks CNC website, but there's a link to that also in the description if you're interested in joining the forum. And, you know, of course, there's 2 Facebook groups, one for Gatton CNC and one for GarageWorks CNC. So if even if you're brand new and don't even have a CNC, maybe you're just thinking about getting one, I would encourage you to join one or all of those forums and groups, and feel free to ask questions. The CNC community is just fantastic, and they'll help anybody they can with any questions, no matter how silly you think the question is. You know, go ahead and ask it, because we've probably heard it before anyway. So yeah, that's a good idea, Matt. He was talking about doing a toy challenge for Christmas where we can donate them to Toys for Tots. Yeah, we'll have to check into that and think.
I'm not sure if Steve Twidell is still doing his challenge, but he usually has a challenge around this time. I have to talk to him. He's been out of the loop for a little bit.
Seems like I saw something about Toys for Tots or Toys for something.
Yeah, he has a big thing where you make a toy, you put it up for auction, and you pay for the shipping to whoever wins it. They donate the money and it's for autism and things like that. But I'll look into that.
Yeah, we'll check into that. One thing I do want to mention too, I'm kind of picky when it comes to the forum. And I've said this before, and nobody, I swear nobody does it. But when you sign up for the forum, it don't matter what kind of username you put, whether it's Cool Guy 64 or whatever, it will send me a message saying that there's somebody waiting to be approved for membership. And I always go in and edit it with your first and last name. If I don't have a first and last name, you won't get in. We're all grown-ups, and you know, we don't need any funky little usernames or anything like that. We all like to know who we're talking to, first and last name. So, you know, like I said, feel free to join the forum, but if you come back later and can't find yourself, it's probably because I've changed your username to your first and last name. So anyhow, let's move on to our topic tonight. I'm going to ask Mr. Murray over there, because I know he just, and Mike, if you've got that project handy, if you would show it. Let me lock it on here. Let me present you. Okay. You just posted this on Facebook earlier, I guess. And is that like that black part, is that like a little chalkboard where they can?
Yeah, that's chalkboard paint.
Okay. Okay. So they can pencil in the days and change it every day. That's a pretty cool idea. So I wanted to ask you, Michael, I know you're still kind of new at the CNC thing, but really the same thing applies to scroll saw or whatever. Where do you get your inspiration for new projects? How do you?
Well, a lot of the times it's if we're out at the stores, Michael's or Hobby Lobby, or my wife searches Pinterest a lot, and she'll ask me, can you make this, or what do you think about doing this? And usually it's a not so voluntary, suggestion to make it. But so that's pretty much where a lot of the times I'll get a lot of the ideas what to do, or just sayings like a lot of those inspirational words,
quotes and stuff.
Yeah, and then just redo it, a little in a different font, so rearrange it. That's what I was kind of doing with this. I had purchased that at one of the stores and figured, I could throw a saying on it and hang it up. And since I'm got a bum wing, I can't really actually make that by hand with one hand. So
yeah,
might as well use the best as I can right now.
Yeah. Well, we were for those of you out there watching, we were talking just before we went live here, and Mike mentioned that he bought that piece at Michael's. And I was saying, well, it's funny you mentioned that, because Hobby Lobby and Michael's was one of the things I was going to bring up. Is they're a great source, to find, cool project ideas. The only thing I'm not a big fan of, especially Hobby Lobby, and I was telling them I would challenge anybody to go there and try to find something that's actually made in the USA. Almost all that stuff is, from China or Vietnam or Honduras or who knows where. But it's a shame that they sell all that kind of stuff and none of it's made here. But like I said, it is a great place to go look and see it, and then go home and make it yourself or whatever. So that's just a couple of good, and as far as the stores, since we started talking about those, there's all kinds of stores, not just Hobby Lobby and Michael's, the craft type stores, but even if you go to a Tractor Supply right now, they have all kinds of stuff. And again, it's kind of the same deal. Most of it's not made in the U.S., which is certainly disappointing. But again, it's a great place to go and see the, the inspirational quote things, or, just the little Christmas tree stuff, or just, for whatever holiday it is, they always have a lot of stuff, and you can get some really good ideas from that. And of course, I'm guessing that if I was to ask everybody in the chat to put what their number one place, or what's the number one thing they use to find inspiration or find something that they decide they want to make, they would probably say the internet, in some form or another. Facebook groups, I mean, you see stuff, not just the inspirational quotes, but people posting their projects and stuff like that. So you see all kinds of stuff on the Facebook. Same thing for Instagram, the Twitters, Pinterest. My gosh, there's a million different things.
That's a big one for me.
I love
Pinterest.
I get that not a day goes by that I don't get 3 or 4 notifications, and I'm not even sure I'm on there. I guess I must be somehow, or somebody's tagged me or something. I don't know how that works, but I get stuff from Pinterest all the time. And there's a lot of cool quotes and things over there. So that's a great place. Another great place that you might not think of at first, but if you just, like, say you're wanting to make a Christmas tree of some kind, something, you want to see something different, you can just Google Christmas tree and then click on images.
Yep.
Go look and see what the images look like. And you'll see stuff people's made. You'll see drawings for it. So if you need a file, a generic type file that you can get to bring into your VCarve or whatever you're using, and do the bitmap trace and make that is a great source, because, Google's got everything. Anything you can think of. You just got to be careful the way you word the Google search. You may come up with something you're not really wanting to find. Yeah, so that, and of course, another well-known source of stuff is the YouTubes. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube. People uploading stuff every day. So you could put Christmas tree or wreath or whatever it is you're looking for in the search in YouTube, and you'd probably find more than you could watch in a couple of days. So that is all a great source. Another thing, and by the way, since we're talking about Facebook, I want to give my buddy Juan Lopez a shout out, because the other day he posted some pictures on Facebook, I guess it was, of these. I think they're like 5x5 or maybe 6x6. Juan, if you're out there and in the chat, you can put what size they are. I think they're about 5x5, but he'd make these little squares, and then he was engraving like big Scrabble letters. And, I thought that was the coolest thing. And I'm thinking, how, well, I won't say women, because probably everybody likes them, but particularly in women, you see them all the time. They're big on getting those things where the words that say believe and hope and faith and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, that would be a cool way to do it with those Scrabble letters, because you could kind of then sell a set to somebody and they could put hope on there one day and change it and put something else on there the next day. So I bet you those things would sell pretty good. And I'm sure they must sell them in stores somewhere. I hadn't seen them, but I'm not sure where Juan got that idea, but when I saw it, I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I wanted to give him a little shout out on those.
Dave, can I interrupt you for 1 second? I'm
absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That pattern for that Santa was from Trevor Carter from Trevor's Woodshop. He and I have been going back and forth, and he's been helping me a lot with a lot of the patterns. That's actually his design. I just cut it out first because we were going back and forth, and so I was the test dummy on what what profile and paths and. But I just want to, you know, give him a shout out because it was his pattern.
Yeah, Trevor. I don't know if Trevor's out there in the chat. I haven't seen him, but he makes some awesome stuff too, for sure. Well, before I just rattle on, I still got a few other things. Javi, let you jump in here. And where would you say you get a lot of your inspiration for different projects?
Well, aside from just about everything you mentioned, Pinterest and images mostly, I would say Mother Necessity. I put that in the chat a little while ago. Most of the time, when I'm coming up with something like, for instance, the Gatton CNC table that I built that goes up on the wall, the vertical CNC table that can, I needed something that could be flat and operate exactly as your table is designed to operate, but I needed something to stow away because of my, well, let's just call them space issues. Or stuff issues, and turns out that in the middle of designing this, I realized that I could make it so it operates in both directions. And as the project was progressing, you tweak it and you come up with ideas. Same thing happened with the inspiration for the post hole digger. 2 months ago, I had dug 10 holes with my cousin, and it was, you know, well, we'll call it sheer laziness was the motivation for that one. And if you want to call it laziness, you know, as you said to me earlier in the chat, work smarter, not harder. And so I figured, well, what's better than a simple box and a winch to raise this thing up and down? And I don't have to lift it up and down now. And it worked like a charm. Also, I've made little. I don't have it here; it's on my bedside. But you know, and they make it in China. These little plastic things for your charger to sit on for my iPhone charger and for my phone and for my glasses and everything. And I've done all that stuff with my own little twists, and I have one that fits all my particular needs because I needed it. That's my main love of the CNC. It's that, and the 3D printer to a much smaller degree. I don't use it that often, but anything your mind can think up, you can make.
Yeah. Anything over in your chat, there's a couple of guys that are like, they're reading my, I don't know if they can see my list, because it's like there's two of the things I haven't mentioned yet, but they mentioned them over there. And one of them is Ryan Ballard says coloring, well, he says coloring pages or coloring books.
Yep.
And, you know, they make, well, I don't know if they're technically called coloring books for old people, but there's
no, that's what they are, coloring books for adults.
Yeah, and they make like the colored pencils and stuff, you know, and you can get some cool, you know, patterns and stuff like that out of those kind of things. So that's you were thinking just like I was, Ryan, because I had that on my list, coloring books. And also Ray Dixon, I was getting ready to talk about this too, is antique stores or the flea markets or really we have several antique places here in town, and I just went the other day, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. And well, if anybody saw the Facebook post I did about 2 weeks ago where I should have brought it in here, but I got a big wooden box that's got Texas stuff about Texas on it. It's from a Texas barbecue place. It's a gift box. And I ran across that at a antique market or whatever you want to call it. And I was getting it because I thought, well, I'd make a cool, you know, it's not a cigar box, but it'd make a cool guitar out of that big box. So I got that, but just walking around, and this place was like two buildings, and it was huge. We were there, I don't know, probably several hours anyway, walking around looking at stuff. But a lot of the stuff, I mean, the whole time I'm walking, I'd see something, and my gears up here would just start turning. I saw well, it's not a cigar box guitar, but it was along those lines. You know how cigar box guitars, a lot of people will make them out of, not necessarily cigar box, but they'll use like hubcaps or, wash tubs, anything weird that you can make a musical instrument out of. And I saw one, and it had what do you call them? The paint roller pans, the metal paint roller pans.
Yeah.
You put your roll. So it had one of those on the back, and of course it had a wood top where everything was made. And this one I think was made more as a piece of art. I'm not quite sure it would have been playable because it was kind of beat up. But yeah, and in fact I got one of those paint pans now, so I'm gonna try making one of those because I just thought it was so cool. I'm like, when I picked it up and turned it over and saw that it was a paint pan, I'm like, who the heck would have thought of that? I wouldn't have, but
it's incredible. And everything you've mentioned on the show is, I mean, you could think of it as a tool because that's what it is, a resource. And a tool, and it all works together flawlessly. For instance, I was talking to you earlier in the day, and Dave and I were talking. One of an issue that I faced when I went up to the property last time is I was by myself and I couldn't lift a very large generator. And when I got back home, I thought, well, what can I make to lift a large generator by itself, other than, the old lever and a ramp and things like that. And I came across this very expensive, mechanized, motorized, looks kind of like half a scissor lift with wheels on it. It's a powered hand truck, it's called. So the combination of the necessity for I need to get something done, and the ideas throughout the internet, and then pictures that you see, and then I mean, all that just culminates together before in a way that for me that's how my brain works. That's how it all clicks in somehow in this jumble of a mental midget that I am.
Yeah, Ryan Ballard says he says I'm actually going to replicate an old beer sign from a magazine.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, really, I guess the whole point that I wanted to make during this show is that inspiration can be pretty much any direction you look. Whatever you're looking at, whether you're looking at the internet, you're at a store, you're driving down the road and you see, especially now, you drive down the road and you see a neighbor or maybe somebody in a different subdivision or whatever, and they've got their outdoor reindeers in the yard or something. You go, wow, I never thought about making them like, it's just, there's just stuff everywhere if you look for it. And I know because I'm like Javi, I've had a CNC a long time. So anywhere I go, it don't matter what I'm looking at, I'm always thinking, how would I make that on the CNC?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's if you look for it. That brings up another point, which kind of goes along with inspiration, which is motivation. And the thing that I find is when I end up, if in hindsight, after I've built something, I think back to why I built it, or rather, what was my driving force, so I could replicate that and do more. And it turns out it's one of two things. It's that whole psychological. You've heard it before. It's either you're forced to do something for pain or for pleasure. So you're either, I mean, not to get too philosophical, but for pain, it's because you need something, and you need to get it done. You need to achieve something, but it's not really painful, but it's a good motivational tool. For pleasure, you exactly what you mentioned. You look at these Pinterest sites or these other sites, and you go, that would be cool. I'd love to have one of those, or I'd love to make one, or even I'd like to make one for a friend. That's a very big motivator as well. I've got Miter Mike's CNC things on here, and I think I've made one thing for myself on that 3D printer, but I enjoy creating stuff for others. It's a fantastic motivator. I get more pleasure out of it than probably the person receiving it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I saw something over there. I was gonna
shutters for his house. Tim Deline. Yeah,
that's something I'd like to redo. Is make all my shutters, because I've got like you said, the crappy. They look real, and then you pull them off, and they're some kind of composite plastic or something. I thought I saw something else over there I was going to comment on.
Let me see.
Becca Miller says, Dave, if you need anyone to give that Texas guitar box guitar to, I know someone. Okay, well, I don't know. The box is really kind of on the big side for a guitar, especially because it's kind of thick. But I mean, you can make, it doesn't matter really what size it is. I could make them out of that. I just thought it was cool because, I know a bunch of y'all from Texas, because God knows I send Gatton CNC kits there every week, at least 2 or 3 a week sometimes. And that, so when I saw they had Texas on it, and I can't remember exactly the words it had, but it was cool the way what it had on it.
Yeah, one of the things that not to vent or gripe, but every now and then I come across people. It's rare in this community, but I come across people who, what they tell you is, I'm looking for some good ideas, and what they really mean is, give me a good idea that you have, and for that matter, give me the files you were saying, and the and I
hate to be a gripey butt, but one thing that always kind of gets my goat is, we all wanted a CNC so we could make stuff, but there's, and then, like I said, most people aren't like that, but there's a few in every crowd, and it's like every time you show a picture of anything you do, it's like, give me the file, give me, and to me, I just say no, go make it yourself.
Make it yourself. I look at Mike
CNC. You need to learn to be creative and learn how to use your software to draw stuff. And it depends on what it is, But for most things, if I've spent my time to do it, and it's like I said, it's not that I'm trying to be mean. It's just I'm trying to challenge folks to, hey, you can't you don't want to be the way we used to call them when I worked in the sheet metal thing, we'd call them button pushers. They didn't really know anything about the machine or anything like that, but they could push the button and make it run. I don't want you guys to be button pushers. I want you to be creative and, learn how to find something you like, figure out how to get it, whether you download it off the internet or what, bring it into your VCar Pro or Spire or whatever, bitmap trace it or do whatever and make it. It's not that hard. It's really not. In fact, we'll do a show one night. We'd have to do it pretty quick if I do something Christmas themed here, but I'll show you just how easy it is to go. I usually go to Google Images and look for a really clean file.
Yep.
Download it, assuming it's not a copyright thing or something. Bring it in, put a bitmap trace on it, maybe touch it, maybe not.
That's exactly what I was going to do in a couple weeks in my show. It's very simple.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally be cutting the thing in 10 or 15 minutes from just getting the idea in your head.
Patrick from Patrick's workshop had this mallet that he made. It's on his site, and he's got plans for it. And he asked me, how fast do you think you could do this on the CNC? And I go, let me see. And I asked him just for a couple dimensions. And within, I think it was 18 minutes between design and cutting, putting the board on and cutting it and putting it together, I had a mallet in my hand. I think Patrick, if he's still there, he can back me up on that. But I mean, I wonder where that mallet is. It's lying around there somewhere. I use it all the time. It's the whole teach a man to fish. We would rather teach you to fish than hand you a bunch of fish, because the best part is when you're forced or challenged to do these things yourself. We're always amazed, and I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure you're in the same boat. We're always amazed how differently people see things, people do things, and every now and then something just completely shocks us and surprises us. We have a new person out there coming up with a whole new design or a whole new way of doing something that hey, I never thought of that, and I've been doing this for years.
Yeah. Keith Allen out there says that's a great idea. I could create the buttons that people push. And every time I think about that, I think about as a joke, back when I was working, we used to have a guy who was well, I won't say he was a smart whatever, but he had a good sense of humor. And he had one of those you know how you used to be able to, you probably can still buy them, but it's that easy button.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Staples, the red store.
Staples, yeah, that easy button. And he had one of those taped or a magnet or something to his press. And if the boss would come out there and say, "Hey, I need you to, we need to get these done. Can you hurry up and do them?" He'd go, "Oh yeah, no problem." And he'd hit that button. Being a smart aleck. Yeah, it's easy. I can do it. I got the easy button. But yeah, that's what you should make, Keith, is some easy buttons. But all right.
And to all of those out there who are challenged, who have difficulty or struggle in the beginning with learning, and I mean, obviously, the big advice is, apply yourself, do it. Yeah, well, that aside. We're all here for you. This community is
well. I mean, I don't know if Peter's still out there. You've got people like Peter Pasqualo. That if you go check out his YouTube channel, he's got. I mean, his channel's called CNC Nuts. So that right there, I'll tell you, he's got videos on
everything
you could possibly think of. You got Mark Lindsay, who's doing these.
The Vectric tutorials
for the absolute beginner. So he breaks it down, like you've never even seen the software before. So you've got that. If you're a little more advanced for that, there's plenty of great Vectric tutorials, either by Vectric themselves or by other people.
Vectric has a great site.
Javi does stuff on his show showing us
I do per request. If you're having issue and you want to learn a specific, so I mean, I'll come up with a project each week, but I would love to have people come in and give me requests. I would love to just, I mean, Dave and I talk all the time about how difficult it is to come up with subjects for a show. I'd be in heaven if somebody every week would give me a couple projects to do, and then all I'd have to do is just teach them how to replicate or how to do the project. That would save me a lot of trouble. And you have somebody like Laney Shaughnessy also. He's doing intermittent
Spindle TV.
Spindle TV. Yeah, I was TV. Thank you, Javi. Now his shows are a little long, so you get ready to sit down and watch one of his, live things. Get you a sandwich and a cup of coffee, or maybe a pot of coffee,
But they're very, very professional and very detailed.
Yes.
It's always at least from 7 to 9, I think. So it's always like 2 hours. But a lot of times, I've watched some that were over 3 hours. But by gosh, you can follow. He doesn't go so fast that you can't follow him. And it's, of course, when I watch, and you take this as a tip if you want, but when I watch pretty much any kind of YouTube video, especially one where it's a Vectric tutorial or it's Laney or Javi or, you know, Matt Haas show, which I want to talk about him in a little bit too. I always watch them on my TV. I have my phone because when I bring it up on my smart TV, it won't show the chat. So I have to use my phone if I want to interact in the chat at all. But I have a 65-inch TV. So when you got somebody on that thing that's, you know, got VCarb Pro up there and they're moving around, I mean, it's huge. So I can see exactly what they're doing. And it's so much easier trying to follow them, because if you're trying to follow somebody on something like that on a phone or whatever, forget it. You can't even see what they're doing. So, and
choose and look around. If for those of you that have seen all the shows, you know what I'm talking about. Every single one of us has a completely different style. Choose a style or a hodgepodge. Choose a style what's comfortable with you. Mark Lindsay is extremely detailed and slow-paced tutorial.
Extremely detailed.
Slow-paced tutorial. Well, there's a lot of people. Just kidding. There's a lot of people who appreciate that. I'm a little more fast-paced, but at the and I jump around a lot. Some people are used to that. They'll ask a direct question, I'll give them a direct answer. And like you said, Lane Shaughnessy's show are long and detailed, and they're planned out. There's tutorials which you can pick and choose and go at your own pace. Or you can watch any one of our shows, Laney, Dave, myself, or Mark, on YouTube at your own pace. I don't know why you would slow down one of Mark's shows, but
yeah, but I would suggest, you know, most people, if they've never done any type of design, start off small, basic stuff, and then work their way higher. Don't just jump into the 3D carving like, oh, I got a CNC, let me do 3D carving, because there's a lot. Like, I come from a CAD background, so I've done drafting. It's different when you come to the CNC Vectric stuff. You know, it's the same, but it's different. You know what I'm saying?
And there are shows. My first dozen shows were just simple shapes, just making squares and things like that. If some of you will remember. Dave has some of his old CNC with Dave shows where there were instructional videos on the basics. Laney covers from the basics to a little bit more advanced, and then you got the Vectric stuff, which is, I mean, when I first started years ago, I started looking at that. It's yeah, it's the how-tos they're out there. They're out there.
I want to make a quick disclaimer. You know, we tease about Mark Lindsay's videos because they're usually pretty lengthy as far as YouTube videos go. But there's no better guy to get help if you're brand new at this.
Yep.
He will, you know, if you don't understand a video, you can email him or send him a private message or whatever, and he will work with you until you do understand it.
Yep.
You know?
So, and even
I could tell you when after my shoulder operation, I was sitting in that recliner for like the first 3 or 4 days and not moving. And all I did is I took my phone and I shot it to the TV and pretty much went through every one of Mark's beginner videos. And I did learn a lot.
Awake?
You know? So no, I was awake. I couldn't sleep.
Well, we joke around a lot, but even the more professional and seasoned ones will turn them. Well, you could look at my past videos. Mark's in the chat, and every once in a while, I haven't done a particular procedure in a long time. And you know how they say, if you don't practice it every day, it's like anything else, you'll forget it. and I'll go, Mark, I forgot on one of my videos, I forgot how to use the built-in calculator, and all it is just typing in.
I started to type in something to help you last night, but I figured before I could get it typed, Mark would beat me to it because I was on my phone, so I didn't bother. And sure enough,
exactly. And then I figured it out, before he got to me. But again, he's always ready with the answer, as are most of us for most answers.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
Yeah, there's like I said, Mark Lindsay's a great one if you're really new at the stuff. And also, I'm a big fan. A lot of people don't like the Vectric videos because they go kind of quick, and sometimes depending on which one of them's doing the tutorial, that accent's a little tough to handle sometimes, especially for an old dumb country boy like me. But if you're watching them on YouTube, I don't if it's a 20-minute tutorial, I don't sit there and watch 20 minutes. I'll watch 5, or 60 seconds of it, and I'll stop it and I'll go open up mine and do the steps to get me to that point. Then I'll go back and I'll hit start again. And I had to do that with the text on text, where they show you how to make a template. And then there's another good video they have showing you how to take your template and then make one. And there's a lot of steps to that, and I'm forgetful as heck. So if I don't have it, even with the template, I would probably have to have myself a note, say, do this first, and follow the little checklist or whatever, or I'd probably screw it up.
Yeah, I'll tell you in a class, I may have mentioned this story once before. Once my wife's a teacher, and one time I substituted in her class, and it was the worst. It was a simple geometry. It was finding the midpoint of a line, and my simple thing. Well, I didn't understand how it was an hour-long class. It goes, the midpoint is equidistant here, and it's here, and that's it. It seems so common sense to me, but in a class setting, I am probably the worst of teachers, and I admire the teaching, anyone who can teach that way. However, one-to-one, when I have the person's attention or communication, I hold my own, and I have come across slow learners and fast learners, and the worst I would have to say of which is my mom, who to this day continues to ask me how to operate her email. So I mean, I encourage anyone that wants to learn this stuff, that a lot of it is mindset. It's just be open to it, take your time at your own pace. It's really not rocket science. It really isn't. And I have no doubt that you could probably learn rocket science if you had long enough time as well. So
I want to give a big shout out to my old buddy Sterling Davis. I see he's Sterling. They didn't kick you out of that other show again, did they? Is that why you're back this week?
Ouch.
We love you, brother. At least just enough to get into heaven, right? That's what he always said.
At least enough to get you into heaven. We love you, Sterling. Let's see. A show on two-sided projects. Okay, Steve, I'll make that in 3 weeks' time. How's that?
Yeah, I was going to say I'd be happy to do one of those too, but to do a show like that, I would have to do it
on the CNC.
On the CNC, yeah. You can't.
That's the type of show you have to prepare. I would have to actually do a project, film some footage, and then I'll have with OBS. It makes it easy, but I have to go through all the steps, and that would be nice.
You'll never be blocked here, Sterling. No matter how much you say Team Scroll Saw. We love you, brother.
Patrick, on the other hand,
What did he put over there? I see he's got a message automatically held for you.
yeah, I'll tell you what it said later.
You look at.
Yeah. In fact, I'll put it on the inside chat.
Okay. All right. It's not
knowing
Patrick. Good old Patrick's. By the way, Patrick, how have you started your Gatton CNC build yet, or is that?
No, it's going to be after the new year.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
He's getting all the parts and stuff. He's got to make a little bit of room.
Yeah. Good. Good. Debating getting a CNC, a small one. Well, good. See, make sure you talk with me before you get one, Sterling. I have something for you, buddy. All right. Well, we.
This is what he said. Just.
Okay. All right. One more thing that I wanted to mention, especially Sterling, since you know scroll saw guys out there in the chat. That's another thing I had wrote down is a lot of scroll saw patterns are very easily adaptable to CNC.
They'll just look a little different.
Yeah, they'll look a little different. Steve Good is a perfect website. Do you know his website? I can never. It's something Blogspot or something.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is just put Steve Good in the Google search.
I'll put it out there for you guys.
Okay,
because it's a little long.
You know, well-known scroll saw guy. He has a fantastic website, and if I'm not mistaken, all of his patterns are free. Is that
every day he puts a new pattern out, and every one of them are free.
Yeah, and he's got a ton of stuff. I know for a fact there's Christmas ornaments because I've gotten some and scroll sawed some and CNC some of them. But there, you know, a lot of the things, you know, when you look at some things that's done on a scroll saw, you know, like say it's got a real sharp corner. So, you know, they run the blade in and then they can turn it around, or, you know, if they're using a spiral, they just turn it and they can get that sharp corner. Well, with a CNC, you're not going to get that sharp corner, but if you're using say a 1/8 inch bit, you know, it's going to have a 16th radius. If you're using a 16th inch bit, it's going to have a 1/32 radius. Well, if you're making a gift for somebody, most people don't care whether that radius is there or not. You know, it's still going to look cool. So a lot of scroll saw patterns are like I said, are easily adaptable for CNC stuff. So that's another good place to look. And one more thing I wanted to mention, getting back to the antique place that I went the other day. One thing, you know, and I'm a CNC guy, you know, and, you know, over the years, I've taken a lot of heat when I do videos and stuff. People say, oh, that's not real woodworking, that's cheating, blah, 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 blah. You know, I've heard that for longer than I want to, and I'm over it. But when it comes to going to a craft show or a antique market or whatever it might be, I'm just like everybody else. I don't want to see somebody, you know, having a tag on this thing saying handmade, and I can't remember what the item was, but I picked it up and I looked at Barbara and I said, this isn't handmade. I mean, this is CNC stuff. He's not fooling me. So I get where people get mad about that, but you know, for me, I'm all for CNC stuff, but if you're going to do CNC stuff, don't try to pass it off as handmade, because it's not the same thing. It's just not.
Yeah, and they have a lot of, I mean, like everything else, you know, the loopholes, if you will. Like you make it with a CNC and then you paint it. You paint it by hand. That's handmade. Well,
and painted.
It's hand painted, not handmade.
Yeah, but yeah, and I saw stuff there that, you know, they had on there, you know, like trying to act like it's real old or something. When you look at the edges, you can tell it was cut with a laser, because they had the
burn mark,
black mark on the edges, you know, obviously laser cut. And I'm like, come on, folks. But, Anyway, anybody got any questions? We'll just kind of open it up for questions, I guess. We're already past an hour, but we'll be on here a few more minutes. I think I pretty much.
Matt Haas.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention Matt Haas here. I want to first of all give him a shout out because he does an awesome job doing the all things YouTube.
All things YouTube and the Illustrator.
Yeah, he does
the Adobe actually now tutorials.
Yeah, and that's at 6 o'clock on Mondays, and then at 7 o'clock, the one I like, is the All Things YouTube. So if you got a YouTube channel, and I know every one of you out there got one, whether you use it or not, he gives you great tips on how to, how to make your channel grow and stuff like that. So Matt does a great job. And also, the reason I have him wrote down here is I wanted to mention the Maker's Rock album thing. Yep. I'm going to get on that this year. I don't have all the details with me. I didn't think
Maker's Rock. You're making a 12-inch reproduction of an album. It could be this year. The theme is any year. So any year you have to sign up at makersrock.com because we don't want duplicates. And the premise of it is you create the duplicate, and there have been some fantastic work with LEDs and all this fancy stuff, and just plain incredible works in the past. And on your channel or in any way you decide, you give it away to one of your patrons, one of your subscribers, a friend, whatever. And that's the whole thing behind it. I mean, obviously you post it on Maker's Rock so people see it. You give it away, give it to charity, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. It's I think what was it last year? Was it 80s or something?
Last year was 90s, I believe.
Oh, okay, it was 90s.
Was it 90s? That's right.
Yeah, that's why it was.
To get in on it last year, but
yeah, I wasn't.
There wasn't any good music in the 90s. I'm sorry.
There was no.
This year it was open to anything. I decided to get it. Of course, I'm doing a Blackberry Smoke, which is a current group. So I didn't pick somebody from way back in the day, but I'm doing the Like an Arrow.
Back in the 20s in your time.
Oh, come on now. Oh man, you guys are
kidding. We're not
me. Sterling,
I'm only jealous because
would you like to come on the show and start watching the chat for me? There may be an opening.
Dave, I'm only jealous because you look younger than I am when I take off this hat.
Yeah, well, mine's all gray though. But what's bad is mine has been gray like this since for 20 years or over 20 years. When I turned 40 is when it just like somebody flipped a switch on. I woke up, looked in the mirror, and I was gray. So it is what
I blame it on my wife and kids.
Yeah, that'll do it to you too. But I appreciate the thumbs up. Thank you, Tim, for mentioning that. I appreciate the thumbs up. We've got 40 of them so far. We got still 78 folks watching, and we're talking about inspiration. So, I hope y'all have enjoyed this show tonight. I hope maybe somebody got maybe we said something that light bulb come on. You didn't hadn't thought of that before. But like I said, basically it's out there everywhere. If you just kind of look for it, I love going to places, like I said, and looking at stuff, and the wheels and the gears are always turning in my head. I'm always thinking, well, how could I make that? And I bet I could do it easier. And I bet I could knock out 100 of them quicker than they made that one or whatever. It's
think about what you need. Think about what you like. Think about what and go to somebody else and ask them. If you have trouble coming up with ideas, you're just not trying hard enough. Or actually you're just not trying. Go to the next person that you talk, whether it's a wife or a child or a parent, and ask them, what would you like to see, and brainstorm. That's another mode of inspiration, which I find another avenue which I find extremely useful is brainstorming with another person. I will sit and sort of like a mini think tank. I will sit with in one of the hangouts, and I'll go, hey, what can I want to do this, or I want to see something like this. How do you think I should do it? And then now I think it's best to use fewer people because you don't want to, you're never going to get a consensus with a lot of people.
One's pretty much my limit.
Yeah, one
other person. Yeah.
One other person is very useful for sparking ideas back and forth.
That's why I have a mirror in my shop.
3 or 4 people, it just is an argument and you lose control, and all of a sudden they're on 10 different tangents and and nobody's helping you. But yeah.
That never happened in the hangout.
Yeah, Lyle Foyt says his wife has a big list of things for him to build. Honeydew lists, I get inspiration from them because I figure out how the hell can I avoid doing them or do them faster.
Yeah, we've got up to a book now.
Yeah,
forget about lists.
Oh, my wife
volume 1.
My wife has a new technique. She found and I guess it might have been my fault. I was a little bored one month, and she goes, "Oh, I got a couple things you can do." So she put like 3 things on the list in the refrigerator, and I knocked them all out in a month. And then she put the following month, she put like 7 or 8 things, and I didn't get any of them done. So she has been, I think I'm the lab rat, and she's testing me. Now she's gotten to the point where if she puts 3 to 4 things every month on the refrigerator on a list, the stuff is getting done. And that's another thing you got to think about is how many things you're motivated to do at once, because too many is overwhelming. But
yeah, Ray Dixon just put in the chat. He says, I have a folder on my computer where I store pictures I take with my iPhone of ideas that I want to make. And that's a great thing. You know, the cool thing, everybody's got smartphones or some kind of phone with a camera on it. So when you go someplace, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or any place or whatever, you see something cool, you know, if you're like me and so forgetful, I always snap a picture.
Yep.
And even if it's, you know, I don't want to try to lay it all out and make it obvious that I'm trying to, you know, get the measurements and stuff, but you know, just enough a picture with, as long as it's beside something that can I serve as a reference for scale, I'm good. You know, that's all I need.
My wood project file is over. It's funny he mentioned that because I do the same exact thing, and I take pictures from everywhere. It's currently 742 pictures. Yeah. That, you know, on the it's not a to-do list, but it's here's an idea that one day I would love to do, and the list grows faster than I can crank it out. I gotta go back there. That's
well, as soon as I say I probably got one on there, I won't find one, but
yeah,
I have to empty my phone all the time. You know,
you could set your phone to actually send those pictures to your Dropbox.
Yep.
Automatically. Once you take it, it'll drop into your Dropbox, and you could delete it off your phone.
Oh.
And then you'll always have it on your computer.
Figure out how to do that. But yeah, I take pictures of stuff all the time when I'm out, or get them off Facebook or whatever, you know.
Yeah, the recommendation I have, if your brain works like mine does, where what is it? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. If you're thinking, oh, I'm going to make this click, oh, I'm going to make this click, oh, I'm going to make this click, and you keep accumulating, remember, one day it would be a good idea to actually go back to the list and make one of those items. So I thank you all for giving me a kick in the butt. I'm going to get on these.
Yeah.
Well, just think, you have 700. You could do.
I forgot I even had this folder here.
365 days.
I forgot I even had this folder here. Yet on a weekly basis, I'm adding stuff to it. Oh, that's a cool idea in the folder.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Tim Deline, however you say it, carved out a large sign in a book for a wedding, and it was a big hit. A lot of, we've talked about this before. Wedding stuff, baby stuff, and holiday stuff are big.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I make a lot of it, because I don't, but I know it's big because everybody else does, and you go in stores and that's all you see. So baby stuff, wedding stuff, and of course anything holiday is
a lot of times. Yeah, and in today's day and age, one thing I caution people is a lot of people, I hear this from my subscribers and from friends. What's the latest fad? What are the teenagers into? What's the latest group? And don't fall into that hole, because while you may think, oh, that's a great demographic to tap into, I would say any particular fad or idea is, I mean, I know from my teenage kids, it's got a shelf life of 6 hours. By the time you finish making it on your CNC, that fat is I've had that happen to me. I go, oh, let me make this. It's one of my daughter's favorite groups. Let me make this little pattern for her. I make the pattern for her. I give her to her 2 days later. It's no longer her favorite group.
Yeah, Sterling Davis. I'm so glad he's here tonight. He just said crosses and religious items.
Absolutely.
Big there.
Absolutely.
And I would agree. Those are probably good selling items pretty much everywhere except for California or something. I'm sorry.
In the small towns. And the small towns, they're big. They're a bit harder to sell in the bigger cities, but they're still.
Yeah, fidget spinners. That was the one fad I never jumped on, because that no matter how hot they got, I kept thinking that's the dumbest, stupidest thing I've ever seen. So I never jumped on that bus.
I had a similar experience. Oh well, actually, I did make one fidget spinner. Zach Manring once had a fidget spinner challenge. I think it was Zach that had it. And,
yeah, I think.
And at the same time, there was another challenge out there to make a cup challenge. And it was mostly for turners. Well, so I made a fidget spinner cup.
Yeah.
And
and sometimes if you're an old fart like me, there's stuff that you can make that the younger generation wouldn't even know anything about. For example, I haven't made it yet, but I've got it all modeled up, and I keep looking at my list. I have a piece of paper taped to the wall up here that has 10 things that I'm going to do, and this is number 1 on the list. And I took and some of you guys are probably going to go, well, what is that he's showing? The old cassette tape. Yeah. Well, I took a cassette tape, because have you ever seen the people that make like coffee tables and stuff, and they make them look like a big giant cassette tape?
Yep.
I thought that was cool. So I didn't want to just start drawing and draw one up. When it comes to making stuff like that, I want it to be to the right scale. So that's what this is for, because I was out here with my calipers and I measured all this, and I've got a 3D model. I haven't, I don't think I've even started programming any of it yet. But it's on the top of my list of things that I'm going to get around to doing one of these days.
Yep.
Are you going to design a number 2 pencil to stick out of it?
Well, yeah, and I'll have like a piece of tape pulled out.
Yeah.
You'd have to roll to get
the roll.
Yeah, we get it.
Most people won't understand that, but
yeah, the pencil thing. Or one of these things work good too with the real good. But Sterling says his truck still has an old 8-track.
Yep.
Awesome. Gotta love an 8-track. Anyhow, I guess we need to get out of here. We're just babbling on now. It's 9:17. Thank you all. We still got 79 folks watching.
Well, we're coming up with great ideas. So, I mean, you just gave me one.
Are you writing down?
Okay. I'll share. I wanted it to be a surprise, but it's kind of funny. I was thinking for the Maker's Rock, I'm probably gonna do an album, but wouldn't it be cool to do an 8-track tape about this big, just for
Yeah.
blanks and giggles?
Yeah.
Or a cassette tape.
See, like I said, if you're an old fart like me, I long for the old days. So, some of this stuff that I would make just because it's kind of cool, some people wouldn't even know what the heck it is. But.
Oh, by the way, I do have a tip, because you mentioned earlier buying acrylic paint at Michael's, and what I like to do is well, mostly because I'm a hoarder. I go to Sherwin-Williams, and this is only if you need the paint only to fill in some stuff, then by all means just buy the 1-ounce bottle. But if you're working with paint on a regular basis, they have the sample quarts available for, I think it's $6 or $8. I think I get them at a different price because I'm a contractor. But at Sherwin-Williams, it's a satin interior paint, but it's a little quart paint sample. You could do it to any color you want. I went there one day, I spent $100, and I picked up a whole box full of all the different colors. I'm still using them, and it's convenient.
Yeah, as you said that, I thought, well, I've got a little box with some of these in it. This is some
Yep.
paint that I think this is Michael's stuff. And I thought, well, while you're talking, let me grab one and see. And this actually says made in USA, but then it's also got a bunch of Spanish stuff that I can't make out, so I'm not so sure.
Many of those, all they are is just plain acrylic paint. What they do is they it's almost the same formulation as house paint, but it's a bit different because they use some polymers that don't smell like house paint, and they're not meant for long lasting, and they're not meant for durability because it's meant for crafts.
Yeah. Well, I like working with this stuff because you can just open it up and splurt a little blob.
Right.
You can dip your brush in it, and
Yeah, I take the little I take the not the chip brushes, but the others, the little acid brushes that you buy them in a big pack at Harbor Freight, and I use them to dip into those jars. They're plastic jars, and they got a twist top lid. The paints that I'm talking about at Sherwin-Williams, they're very, very convenient.
Home Depot has them too.
Oh yeah,
that's where I got a bunch of, before I needed specialty colors, and that's what I got, because I'm like, how am I going to make up a specialty color for this project?
Yeah, so if you do need a particular color, I mean, hey, your nearest paint store, $6 or so. It's
Rob Hampton says, gave me lots of inspiration today. I hope so. I hope we gave you a little bit anyway. Let's see, tombstones for people's pets they're burying in their backyard. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because at one time, a while back, I have my dog's vet. It's the animal hospital vet, and plus that's where I board him whenever I go out of town. They're right down the road from me, real close. And at one time, I was actually thinking about getting in, because I saw it on YouTube. I saw another guy, and I believe he was in North Carolina. I can't remember the name of the town, but I'm pretty sure it was in North Carolina. But it was this guy who started making caskets for pets, and he turned that into a big business.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's all he did. And I'm thinking, I gotta. So I asked him one day when I had Rocky down there, I said, hey, when folks bring their pets in here and they have to put them down and stuff, I mean, I know that's kind of a bad deal. I'm certainly dreading it. But, do you have some place you recommend, because a lot of folks want to get, there's even a place down the road, I say down the road, it's probably about 20 miles, but where they'll do the pet cremations. So you can make the little urn. Mike's shaking his head. He probably knows what I'm talking about. You can make the urns for pets, or some people, you know, they have pet cemeteries here in Atlanta.
Yep.
Where you can make caskets. And I'm not talking about pine boxes.
No.
I'm talking about
all out caskets.
I mean, they're
nice. It's a big business. It's a big business. I was, you know, I had a sign shop for a decade or so, and I've done quite my fair share of engraving plates on. I had a supplier that would supply these box urns, and for their pets, and I've had a few since I had the laser engraver. Laser engraved the headstone with whatever saying they wanted, and an actual photo, you know, of the this. I remember a particular German Shepherd that had passed away. I forgot his name, but you know, let's say it was Fred, and good old Fred. You know, the owner gave me his picture, digitized it, and same thing could be done with any type of dark granite or anything like that. Or if you had even with the CNC, you can do it with a diamond router bit, because that's been done before as well. But it's big business.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, you know, anything to do with weddings and kids, well, pets fall right in there with the kid thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm just as bad. You know, my two mutts, they're not even around now. They're all sleeping somewhere, but they're just like my kids, you know. And a lot of people are way worse than me. So, yeah,
I was cracking up because earlier Dave and I were on a hangout, and my wife brought me a pizza, and at the same time, Jack brought him a
rubber cone looking
a rubber cone, a doggy treat. And that got me thinking just now. I was recalling that we spend an awful lot of money on all that rubber garbage for our pets, because we love our pets.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. It's no longer the thing where people take their pets, cats, you know.
Yeah, something like this on a laser engraver or on a scroll saw, something like this.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is made out of 2 pieces of 1/8 inch board. The second one was cut into 3 different pieces, and all it is stains, and the scrap pieces from the cut are what's raising up these 2 layers. It's a simple scroll saw design. Well, maybe not so simple, but you could scroll it. You could there's a guy who makes decent money going to different shows. I remember, again, from my sign days, going to different shows, selling DVDs, from one for planes, one for military insignias, another one for dogs, another one for cats. Each has a CD of all the patterns, and it's the same style for everything. It's this circle, and it's just a different picture on the inside, and whatever saying you want it to say. And
so there you go, folks. If you live around a vet or animal hospital, there's another option. You can get into making pet urns and caskets and stuff like that. See, we sat here talk long enough. There ain't no telling what kind of other things I think of.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even remember how I thought of that, but Frankie CNC and Woodworking Channel says, at Dave Gatton, you're not far from where I'm from. You ever hear the legend of Stiffy Green? Where do you think I'm from? That's what I want to know, because I don't know what Stiffy Green is. I'm originally from Indiana. I've said that before. A lot of folks, they know, but I'm originally born and raised, grew up in a little town called Danville, just outside of about 20 miles due west of Indianapolis.
Yep.
Campsite signs.
Yeah, campsite signs are also Todd's right. Campsite signs are huge. RV signs, things, you know, that you put in front of your RV and things like that.
Yeah,
They go for, I used to sell those for approximately $50 a square foot of engraved space. So, you know, a 1 foot by 3 foot sign, or it could, you know, it could, and there's people out there. I mean, you've got a whole range. You've got the super economical, I'm going to on an RV to avoid the prices of a hotel, and you've got the guy that's just dropped $250,000 on a motorhome with all the bells and whistles on it, and they are they are retired and have money to blow. So, and everything in between.
Yep. All right. Well, we've been at it here for about an hour and a half. Still got 75 folks watching. I appreciate you guys so much. You just don't know. You know, I can't believe you come spend an hour and a half listening to us talk about stuff when it's Saturday night. There's probably a good football game on or something. Whatever. By the way, Alabama won. For anybody who wants to know, Roll Tide. They won like 50-17, I think. 11-0. Yep. Got him another one. Larry Duggar says, I made a pet earn, but it was a freebie. Sometimes you have to do that to let yourself. Yeah. Yeah. I just, you know, because I'm a big fan of dogs and stuff anyway. I think that would be a cool thing to, and I really thought about doing it there for a while. In fact, you know, I could have so many things. You guys would just not believe the number of things I could show you on my computer where there's 3D models, everything's drawn up, and then I never make it. And one of those is different size pet caskets.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, you can go from pretty simple to really elaborate. But see, the thing that struck me about making the pet caskets is this guy, like I said, in North Carolina had turned it into a big business, and he didn't even have a CNC. So it's like he would build these really nice looking caskets, but he didn't have any way to personalize them with engraving the name or, you know, the pet's name and stuff like that on there. So that's kind of why it made me think about it. But then, you know, like
another thing that you've done, which I've always wanted to do, is you made one of those little or pieces of it, at least one of those clocks, and that's one thing that's always inspired me, is having the CNC cut multiple pieces. You know, not so much a 3D image on a block of wood, but a bunch of flat pieces turning into a 3D image. Whether it's a, wonder if I still have my little sled that I had for a while. Whether it's a child's toy or a marble machine that's very intricate with all the pieces, or a clock with a bunch of gears. When you have multiple cuts all culminating into one object, I think that's
I haven't made a clock, but I did. If anybody knows Ronald Walters' YouTube channel, he's probably his most famous video, and I think that's what he uses for his thumbnail or whatever, banner or whatever, is that marble machine that he made. And I spent hours watching that video because he had it filmed, and it was on like a Lazy Susan where it would rotate, and I would stop and I'd count because he didn't have any plans, and I wanted to build one of those. And I never did finish building it completely, but I do have, and I have people ask me for them all the time, because when you watch the video that I made showing all, it was like, I want to say 15 or 16 different gears. And so I have it all drawn up with DXF files and all that. And I get people all the time asking me, because when I do that video, I tell them, if anybody wants it, just email me and I'll give it to you free. It is one of the free things I give away. Not much, but that one I do. But yeah, so it's the he calls it the figure 8 marble lift or something. I think is what he called it. But it's very, I mean, it's crazy. I love watching it. Ronald Walters is the guy's name. If you haven't ever heard of it, you can go check out that YouTube channel and just look for marble machine. It won't be hard to find. But
Sterling's asking how a vinyl record cuts on a CNC.
I've never done one.
Very easily.
Only because I have a lot of the old 12-inch LPs, like what, like the Maker's Rock, what we're going to do. I have a bunch of them, but I don't want to part with any of them. I don't want to cut them up. I thought about buying some at that antique place, something that I didn't like, just to use for cutting stuff on. I've never done it, but I know it can be done. And
I've done them, and it's a very soft and malleable plastic, so it cuts like butter. I mean, it's very, very easy to cut, and with a small, even with a very tiny, with a 16th inch end mill, it cuts really sweet. And I've also cut. You guys might have seen it on one of the about a year or two ago, one of the Facebook posts. I've also cut a laser discs. It's a little bit more, that one's a little bit less forgiving. It's a little bit more brittle, and it leaves a lot more shavings. The vinyl record cuts really smoothly, if you've ever wanted to cut one up. And people do. They make clocks out of them. They all sorts of different designs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not from the classics, just from the cheap stuff that they got laying around.
Yep. All right. I guess we need to get out of here. We're over an hour and a half. Well, we started a little bit late, I think.
Yeah.
So still got 79 folks watching. We can't run them off.
That's a good topic.
Well, Dave, just like you said with the dog, our dog Bailey was a chocolate lab, and he was so far, the best dog we ever had. Yeah. And when we went there, he was riddled with cancer, and we were putting him down, and the lady was like, "Well, do you want his ashes?" And I'm like, "I've never, this is probably the 4th or 5th dog we've ever had." And I'm like, okay, I guess so. Cause the kids, so we took some hair, we got the ashes, blah, blah, blah. And it's in a box. And I was thinking the box is in a cardboard box now, and it's sitting on the shelf. We don't have it displayed because if you open it, you can kind of get to the, and I'm like, that's all I need. My 3-year-old to Bailey's here, and so I'm like, so I was actually thinking about making an urn when I'm able to do it again on the lathe, and making a nice one and displaying it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll have to get my 4th axis working so I can engrave the front.
There you go.
Do a modern. I don't know if this is sacrilegious or not, but I think it's a cool idea. Do a modern version of an urn and mix the ashes in clear epoxy.
Oh Jesus!
I don't know. It seems like pretty. You want to show off the ashes, and you don't want them all over the house. It seems kind of commonsensical to just
Well, I know somebody who has they're a little, I don't know what you call it, a little vial or something.
Yep.
Where when the deceased, have the ashes and it's all in an urn, but they'll take like just a few ashes and put in and make like a necklace.
Yeah, so I got 4 of them from my dad.
Okay, there you go. So
on the shelf.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is when loved ones pass away, don't take the ashes and make a bunch of pen blanks and pass them out at the funeral.
Yeah, don't be selling the pen blanks at the crap show. What's that cloudy?
I put a little part of me in every bit. So
that I got to put that into my will. One of the famous epoxy people cast a bunch of hobby pens and.
Okay, let's mark it at 9:37 when we went off the rails here.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
All right. Well, I guess we're gonna get out of here. I guess we can't run these folks off. We're just going to have to shut it off.
I will say one more thing though, kind of along these lines. Comedy is an incredible inspirational tool for a lot of signs that we make. I mean, I've got a whole in my folders of folders. I've got a folder of funny sayings. That's what I go to Michael's for. Is I actually go not so much for the styles or for the painting. I kind of find them a little simplistic. I got no mind for the art, but for the sayings themselves, you know.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like the one that always comes to mind is, and you probably heard it. I don't know if I can say it right, but it's like, inside of me is a skinny girl screaming to get out, but I usually shut her up with an Oreo or something like that. You know, I mean, just
I like that one. Yeah. One of my favorites
shows and stuff.
One of my favorites is the measure twice. Wait, what is it? Measure twice, measure quick, cut once. You know, where they chop off the twice. I mean, there's a lot of funny signs out there.
Yeah. All right, we've still got 79 folks watching. We're gonna get out of here. I really appreciate y'all hanging around. I hope that all our discussing, talking, jabbering, whatever you want to call it, that maybe somebody got some ideas and it got a place to go look for inspiration now that they hadn't thought of before. But I got, like I said before, it's out there everywhere. You just have to be in that mindset when you're out looking around, when you see stuff at stores and antique malls, Pinterest, Facebook groups, Instagram, all that stuff we mentioned, coloring books, scroll saw patterns.
Perfect timing. Hey, Mike, your third piece is done. Time to start the fourth.
Speaking of dogs, old boy just come in here.
Scratch that. Apparently, I got to go a little slower because look.
Oh, yeah, that one.
A middle, right in the middle.
Some assembly required on that one.
Assembly required. I gotta love the 3D printer.
Yep. All right, guys, we are going to get out of here. Thank you so much for hanging around watching. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a thumbs up on your way out. Share it, all that good stuff. Thank you, Mike, for joining us again tonight. Thank you, Javi, for being on here and helping me watch chat. It's been a lot of fun tonight talking about this stuff. Don't forget Matt Haas, Makers Rock, and also the All Things YouTube at 7 Mondays. The Adobe Learn. It's still Adobe? Is that what he's doing?
It's Learn Adobe.
Learn Adobe.
It's no longer just Illustrator. It's everything Adobe.
If you use that. I don't use it, so I don't watch that show, but I do watch the All Things YouTube at 7. And of course, get out there and we've showed you how to get some inspiration. So get out there and get you a Christmas theme project going.
Yep.
Again, if you need to see something, want to see what some of the other folks are making, I've got the playlist links for the last 2 years.
If you need inspiration to get out into your shop, my 30-day challenge is still going on. You have until December 6th to submit 30 videos.
Yeah, and you can just make up one of them a Christmas themed thing and knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
Or 30.
Or 30. Yeah, there you
go. Dave is going to curse me at the end. Damn it, I can't believe I'm watching 30 videos.
Yeah, that'd be good. Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention, I should have done it before we start having some folks drop off. I want to try to get, I don't know how many entries we'll have. I think we had, if I remember correctly, I think we had 16 in 2016. And I think we had 17 last year or something like that, 15 or 16, something like that. I would really like for every person, and again, I don't know how many entries we'll have this year, but I would really like for every person to get a little something for putting in the effort to do the challenge. So if you're somebody out there who maybe doesn't want to do the challenge or can't do the challenge, maybe you don't have a CNC, or maybe you are going to do the challenge, but would like to help sponsor. You know, if you've got like a t-shirt, a coffee mug, a baseball cap, any of that kind of stuff, you know, would make a prize. They don't have to be big, you know, we're not out the big high dollar prizes or anything, but it's just something, a little something you can give somebody. I'm going to be contacting some folks to see if they want to go anything. And I actually put it on the Facebook thing too. So, you know, if you've got your shop logo on a t-shirt or something, and you'd like to donate one of those as a prize or something, that would be awesome.
And Dave, you bring up a good point. There's some of you out there don't have CNCs. I'll volunteer my time and just feel free to come to my channel on Friday. If you don't have a CNC but have the skills and have a copy of Aspire or Vectric or one of these, or just simple Illustrator, and have an idea and want to and just can't bring it to form, send it to me. I'll be happy to, you know, print it out, take a picture of it, and you call it your own for the Christmas challenge. I don't mind cranking out a few pieces.
All right, there you go. All right, thanks again, folks. We'll see you, I guess, next week. Next week, I don't know if I'll do a show or not for sure. You know, next week is the Thanksgiving thing. Y'all, real quick before you go, you can put a note in the chat there if you'd like to see a show next week. If not, we'll maybe take next week off and everybody can enjoy a long 4-day weekend. Doesn't matter to me. Well, if you know, if y'all want us to do a show, I'm sure we can find something to talk about.
Yep.
Do a Q&A or whatever. Matt says, yeah, I'll show next weekend. Up to you, Dave. It don't matter to me. I mean, I don't mind doing them as long as I've got something. And I thought of another topic. I was talking to Javi earlier. We decided we'd do the inspiration one tonight because, you know, folks might need some clues about the Christmas challenge. But I've got another one that we can talk about next week, I guess.
Yep.
Or the week after, whichever. Either one. Doesn't matter to me. So, comparing software. What kind of software, Matt? Control software, design software. One of the topics that I was talking about earlier is I've seen some stuff on this is where I get a lot of my topic material is the stuff the posts I see on Facebook in the Facebook groups. But I was thinking about doing one calling it laptops versus desktops. I see a lot of people using laptops in their shop, and you know, of course, you don't know they're using a laptop, but they come on there and they post or start having trouble. It's doing this, it's doing that, it's shutting off, it's stopping. And
9 times out of 10, it's a laptop.
9 times out of 10, it's a laptop. So I was going to do a show where I talk about the pros and cons of using a laptop versus the pros and cons of using a dedicated desktop. So we'll talk about that sometime. Looks like they're wanting a show next week, you guys. So I don't know if you'll be around or not. Javi, you gonna be around or?
I'll be around.
Yeah, I should be around. We can maybe design something.
I'm up at the property in 2 weeks, but I'm going to try to stream from there in a couple weeks as well. So if you have a show on the, I think it's the December 1st.
Okay, yeah, that's 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, but next week, yeah, I'll definitely be around.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, we'll.
But I'll be beardless. This is the last. This is the final CNC of the year with Javi with a beard.
Yeah, well, I've been doing, last year I did the no shave November thing. This year I'm doing the no shave November.
That sounds good.
So, yeah. I mean, really, this is just too pretty to cover up anyway.
There you go. There you go.
All right, we got to leave on that note, I'm sure, before they start throwing rocks or something. All right, so we'll try to do a show next week, I guess, to find out for sure. I've been waiting until like Saturday, the day of the show, to post up on Facebook, and I try to remember to use the little community tab on YouTube again. And if you're subscribed and have the notification thing checked, you should get notifications anyway. So anyhow, we're going to get out of here. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for the thumbs up and everything. Everybody have a great weekend. And since I won't be seeing you until after Thanksgiving, everybody have a great turkey day. Good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good night, all.